I got a new babysitting job with my mother's coworker. I didn't want to do it at first, but my mother was able to convince me when she told me the amount of money I would receive. The babysitting gig was only for one overnight stay. My mom dropped me off Friday evening as agreed. She didn't even bother to stay and make sure I made it inside of the house. I guess she trusted her friend. Anyway, it was a huge house. I rang the doorbell and waited for about 30 seconds before the front door opened. The lady looked at me and smiled.
Hello, you must be Amber. Welcome to our home. Come in.
I followed her inside and she closed the door. She continued talking.
You don't know how much my husband and I appreciate this. We haven't had any time to get away and spend time together. Come on, I'll take you to my son. He may seem a little different and even cold when he first meet you, but he will warm up to you. Oh, just a little secret. He loves to play hide and seek. Trust me, you will be his best friend.
She laughs and I follow her up the stairs to the second floor of the large home. Once we reached the second level, we turned towards the right hallway and walked until we reached the first door. She stated,
This is my son's room. His name is Jason.
She knocked and opened the door.
Honey, this is Amber. She will be watching you until me and your dad return tomorrow morning. Is that okay with you?
I was blown away that she would even ask her son if it was okay. I mean, seriously, who's the parent? Jason was sitting on the floor playing with his toy dinosaurs and did not respond.
Honey, did you hear me? I need to know if you are okay with us leaving for the night.
What? I screamed in my head. This boy obviously has his mother wrapped around his finger. I decided to take over the conversation. I'm not sure how much begging I could hear from this grown woman. I approached Jason and sat on the floor next to him. Hey there, my name is Amber. It is very nice to meet you. Silence. He continued playing with his dinosaurs, but I continued. Hey, what if you introduce me to your dinosaurs and we can play one of my favorite games later? Do you like to play hide and seek? His eyes widened and he looked at me with excitement.
Can we play now?
I laughed. His mother interjected.
How about you allow Janet to serve you your dinner? But before you do so, your dad and I would like to give you a big hug and kiss before you leave. Would you like that?
I'm screaming in my head. Allow. Serve. And she's still asking for his permission. Good grief! If this is what parenthood is like, I think I will pass A. I smiled. Sounds good to me. I stood up. Come on, Jason. Let's get to the kitchen so I can serve you your dinner. Is that okay with you? I was clearly being sarcastic and mocking his mother in my head, but on the outside, I had a warm and inviting smile on my face. Jason got up from the floor with one dinosaur in his hand and he exited his bedroom. Before his mother and I left out behind him, she said,
Oh, I think he really likes you. The others refuse to come back.
Refuse to come back, I thought in my head. Before I could ask any questions, Jason's mother exited the room. I followed his mother to the kitchen. Jason was already sitting at the table in the dining room, playing with his toy dinosaur. His mother already had Jason's plate prepared and sitting in the refrigerator covered in saran wrap. She showed me where everything was and provided me with instructions and phone numbers to reach out to them. I provided her with my phone number so she could call and check on her son, even though she said she would probably use the landline. Jason's father came into the kitchen.
Hello there, I'm Jeffrey. I see you've already met our bundle of joy,
he said sarcastically, rolling his eyes upwards as if he did not believe the words that just came out of his mouth. I responded, Oh, yes, sir. He's very nice. We're going to play hide and seek a little later. Jason's dad stopped and his head quickly turned towards me. His eyes were wide and his mouth dropped open.
Hide and seek?
He then looked at his wife.
Are you sure?
She interrupted.
You know that's his favorite game. They will have fun.
Jeffrey looked at me, then looked at his wife, then looked at me again.
Okay, just make sure he's in bed by 10 o'clock. He gets really cranky when he's up too late.
Janet stated.
Oh, he'll be fine. They will be fine. Come on, honey. Let's get out of here.
She walked over to Jason and kneeled in next to him. He continued playing with his dinosaur.
Honey, your dad and I are about to leave. Will you let Mummy and Daddy give you a hug and kiss before we leave?
I wanted to throw up in my mouth. This is just sickening listening to her. Jeffrey walked over and rubbed his son's hair with one hand.
Okay, buddy. We're about to leave. See you in the morning.
Jason responded.
Okay, Dad.
Janet was still kneeling next to her son. He ignored her as if she were not there. Jeffrey stated.
Buddy, give your mother a hug and a kiss.
Jason turned towards his mother and wrapped his arms around her neck. Janet returned the hug, and when she tried to let go, Jason began squeezing her neck tighter and tighter.
Okay, honey, you're squeezing my neck really tight. Honey?
Jeffrey interrupted.
Jason, that's enough.
Jason released his mother's neck and said,
I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm going to miss you.
Janet said.
Oh, honey.
She put one hand on his cheek.
We're going to miss you so much, but we'll be back in the morning, okay?
Jeffrey stated.
Let's go. We have reservations.
After his parents left, I went to the kitchen and warmed up Jason's dinner. I placed it on the table in front of him. He continued playing with his dinosaur, so I told him to put his dinosaur down for now and eat his food. He ignored me, so I repeated myself. Jason, it's time to put your dinosaur down and eat your dinner, I said sternly. Jason turned his head and was now staring at me. His eyes were squinted, and he had a frown on his face. He responded softly but eerily.
His name is Dino, and he doesn't like you. He's going to find you.
I couldn't respond at first. This kid was beginning to frighten me, but I couldn't let him see it. Okay, so Dino is going to play hide and seek with us. Sounds good. Jason continued looking at me with an evil glare. His body was motionless as if under a spell.
He's going to find you.
He continued staring at me with malice in his eyes. We were both silent. He then placed his dinosaur onto the table and began eating. It was as if he suddenly snapped out of a spell. He was eating his dinner like a normal kid and even began humming the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. While Jason continued eating, I walked into the living room and sat on their huge, luxurious couch. My goodness, this is a beautiful house. I looked around and noticed there wasn't a television in the living room. I stood up and walked over to the marbled fireplace. I looked at the 3 pictures situated on the mantel, one of Janet and Jeffrey standing in front of the ocean. Another was a family portrait, and the other was of Jason when he was a baby. While admiring the beautiful architecture and superb interior decorating of the living room, I heard a voice.
I'm ready to play.
I jumped and turned around. Jason was standing behind me with a big, sinister smile on his face and holding his dinosaur in one hand. I didn't even hear him walk into the living room. I was even more disturbed that he was standing directly behind me. Did you finish your dinner? He just stared at me, his dinosaur dangling to his side in his right hand. He then responded,
I said, I'm ready to play.
At this point, this kid is creeping me out, and I needed to find a way to break the ice. Okay, let's play. I'll count to 30, and then I'll come find you.
No.
He responded.
You hide. Dino said he wants to hunt you.
I gasped. What did you say? Jason's face relaxed, and he gave me a warm smile.
I will count, and you can go hide. Ready?
He really is a weird kid, I thought to myself. Thank goodness I only have to deal with him for one night. I said, okay, turn your back and start counting. Jason began.
1.
I turned and quietly walked out of the living room. I had no idea where I would hide. I didn't know the layout of the house, but I had to find somewhere to hide quickly and quietly.
2, 3.
Jason continued counting. I decided to find somewhere upstairs. I quietly climbed the stairs and began walking down the hallway to the left, opposite Jason's room. The hall was wide and long. There were at least 4 rooms in this hallway. One of the doors was open, and it revealed a beautiful library with an exquisite cherry wood desk and books lined on bookcases that extended almost to the ceiling.
13. 14.
His voice sounded closer and as if he was still on the first floor, but at the bottom of the staircase. The hallway curved around the corner to the right. I realized the hallway met the other hallway in the back. When I reached the back of the second-floor hallway, I saw another door. I quietly opened the door and noticed it was a huge bedroom. I entered the room and quietly closed the door. The room had a king-size canopy bed and was immaculately decorated. The room appeared to be a guest room since there were no clothes or anything on the dresser that would indicate someone slept in the room. I walked across the huge room until I reached a door that I believed to be a closet. When I opened the door, it was a large bathroom. I entered and quietly closed the door behind me. To the left, there was another door. It was a large walk-in closet that had several areas, including one with a vanity desk, built-in shoe shelves, and another area separated by a door that could be used as a storage area. I quickly entered this area and closed the door. I was in complete darkness. I began crawling in the darkness, reaching with both of my hands. One of my hands finally hit a large storage cabinet. There were a few doors at the bottom. I opened the door, and it was large enough for me to fit. I quietly crawled inside and sat with my knees pulled to my chest and arms wrapped around my knees. I reached with one hand and slowly closed the door to the storage cabinet, and I sat in silence and darkness. A few minutes later, I heard Jason's voice at a distance. I could tell he was still downstairs.
We're coming, and we know where you are.
Then there was silence. I sat motionless, making sure I didn't make any noises. Then I heard his voice again, but he was now closer, maybe at the top of the staircase.
Dino can hear you breathing.
I heard Jason giggling, but it was not the cute giggles that a sweet 7-year-old child would make. His giggles were sinister.
Dino can smell you.
I heard the door to the room slowly open. Then there was more silence. That silence seemed to last for several minutes before I heard the door to the bathroom open. Then silence. My heart was now pounding. I took several deep breaths in an attempt to calm down. I can't explain why I was now scared to death. I continued breathing, making sure my breaths were silent. When I finally felt my heart slowing to normal, the door to the walk-in closet opened slowly. How did he find me? I thought to myself. Out of all the rooms in this humongous house, he came directly to this room and to this closet.
He's coming. Dino is coming for you. He hates you all. You are all the same, just like my mommy. He's going to get her one day, too. But you're first.
Jason's evil giggles seemed to penetrate the walls of the storage cabinet I was in. Then I heard a low, growling sound. I closed my eyes tightly, hoping the giggles and growls would go away. Maybe it's the fear causing my mind to play tricks on me. Then the house phone began ringing downstairs, but there was no way I was coming out of the storage cabinet to answer it. Then I heard Jason.
Dino, it's probably Mommy and Daddy calling. We have to answer the phone.
I heard his footsteps run out of the room and down the stairs. The phone continued ringing, and I eventually heard Jason's voice.
Hello? Daddy?
Now was a perfect opportunity to escape. I slowly opened the storage cabinet and crawled out into the darkness. I stood up and quietly made my way to the opened bedroom door. I stood inside of the room with my back on the wall next to the open door, and I listened. I could still hear Jason excitedly talking on the phone. I tiptoed out of the room and slowly approached the staircase. I could hear that Jason was talking on the phone in the kitchen. I began slowly walking down the stairs, making sure I could still hear Jason talking on the phone. I reached the bottom of the stairs and quietly walked into the living room, making sure not to alert Jason with any sounds. I could now hear that Jason was crying.
She's up in the guest room, Daddy. I can't wake her up, just like the other lady.
My eyes widened and my heart now felt as if it were beating 100 miles per minute. The other lady. My thoughts were now racing. I have to get out of this house. While Jason was still on the phone crying, I tiptoed to the adjacent family room and kneeled behind the large 4-piece modular sofa. I could still hear Jason crying and talking, and suddenly I could hear him hang up the phone. Just as quickly as the phone call ended, his crying also ceased. Jason stated,
Come on, Dino. We have to hurry up before they get home.
I heard Jason running up the staircase and down the hallway. I know he was on his way to the room I just left. My time was limited. I quickly got up and ran for the rear door in the mudroom off the kitchen. Without worrying about the noise, I unlocked the door, opened it, and ran out of the home. I continued running. I had no idea where I was going, but I did not stop. When I was several blocks from the house, I saw the vehicle belonging to Jason's parents speeding past me. I stopped running and turned, watching the vehicle speed down the street. Thankfully, they didn't see me. I stood frozen and watched the vehicle until I could no longer see it. I turned and began walking at a fast pace. I reached into my hoodie pocket and retrieved my phone. I called my mother and she was able to locate me through my device. I lied to my mother. I told her that Jason's parents returned home early and I declined their offer to give me a ride home. I continued the lie, telling her that they agreed to let me wait on their porch for my mom to pick me up. Thankfully, my mom believed every word. My mother's friend obviously never said anything to my mother because the topic never came up. And I never told my mom the truth.